Welcome, everybody, to O Menos Mexicanos, a Mexcellent podcast. I messed it up. A Mexican culture podcast. I had the subtitle invented after the fact. Hey, everybody, I'm Sammy Gonzalez, a.k.a. The Mexcellence, a.k.a. something else probably in the near future. We're working on the social media. Welcome to the show. Joining me today, to my... Oh, I did it right this time. To your right, we have...
Two this week.
I know. Our special... one of our rotating cast members coming in, joining us for this show. We have...
Oh, Alyssa. Hey guys, what's up?
She's back once again and in the position down beneath me. People don't like, I heard some of our podcasts on SoundCloud and Spotify. When I say like down below, we're on like a Zoom style type of show presentation for a video. So when I say down below, I'm actually pointing to someone who's actually beneath me because I don't think less of the man underneath me, who is
Marco. How's everybody doing today? And then to my
you
right.
Messed it up.
Nope.
I totally did.
Other direction. It's the opposite of what you think it would be. But down to our diagonal, we have our special guest. So with O Menos Mexicanos, our fourth seat is rotating with just our friends, family, and specialists in the topic that we're talking about today. And Marcos will get into our topic a little bit more, which is music. But we have joining us Nicole from Baltimore. As we said in the pre-show, she has successfully not been murdered for, I don't know how long she's been there, but she has been successful in not being murdered and is, what I've heard, a little bit of a musical enthusiast. So Nicole, if you could just introduce yourself and spout off some of your expertise in the realm of music.
All right, howdy friends. I'm Nicole. So, I guess I would say right now I'm just listening to a lot of Taylor Swift. So like,
Woo!
That's kind of where I'm at in my life.
Tay-tay!
Music-wise, I was a college radio DJ for 5 years. And so that was like my jam. I was really annoyingly like a music snob, but now, like I said, Taylor Swift. The Mexican thing, so I actually grew up in Houston. So
okay.
I grew up feeling Mexican, even though I'm actually Dominican. So, and I was actually at Selena's concert at the Astrodome, the one that's in the movie. And so I feel like that would be my like Tejano kind of like expertise going on right there.
Oh my God. That's like being at the moon landing almost.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like when you think about the stratosphere of Mexican culture, like events like that happen in our timeline, it's like marching with Cesar Chavez, then like any Selena concert ever. Because my grandma was at the one where she was wearing the cow top, that real famous one. She was at that one, and my grandma had like a doll of it that was signed, like some sort of Barbie or something. I don't know. I don't even know if they made Barbies at the time or whatever. But she was there, and it was like, wow, you were in the scene in the movie, which is actually, they're going to do the second part of the Selena series on Netflix. Did you watch the first part? Because I didn't.
No, not yet.
Not yet. I just wanted to watch it all at the same time, and everyone was mad about the hair in that series. But anyway, so college DJ, Dominican, I didn't pin that. Marcos told me, and then I completely forgot. But ultimately, all of our music is, if I'm being completely honest, rooted in Africa. It's like, I'll tell that little bit of a musing a little bit later here. But before we get started, Marcos, could you describe real quick the overall topic other than just music with this podcast?
So we had our first inaugural episode, which ended up just kind of, so how do we identify as Mexican American? And it ended up coming down to a lot of political type stuff. I thought this would be a way to kind of break up that pace a little bit and just be like, no, this is a little bit more than just identity politics. This is about like how we as people identify as Mexican American. So I thought to have a little bit of fun, we'll talk about music.
Yeah, or Latinx even, because I don't know, Nicole, we talked about that last episode. You weren't here. What do you identify as?
So, well, I very much appreciate the term Latinx. I don't.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
See, I am, I guess, like under that umbrella.
Right.
But I'm a Latina.
There you go.
Like a Dominican American. I'm brown-ish.
So would you go as far as saying Afro-Latina? Because a lot of Dominicans would say that.
So I actually dated a guy who only dated me because he thought I was Afro-Latina. I am technically, my dad's Blackish. But
is that the official term?
it's because he would never say he is. But like skin color-wise,
right.
He's totally black.
But he was Dominican.
Yes, my dad is 100% a black man.
Have you seen the joke where someone says, "I'm not black, I'm Dominican"?
Yes.
You've seen that. So your dad's that guy.
My dad is that man. Right. And so, well, yes, technically I am Afro-Latina. I feel like as I'm very white passing or like ethnically ambiguous. So I feel like it's just like not fair for me to use that term.
Right. And you said you grew up in Houston, huge Mexican population. I can't imagine there's a lot of much Latina diversity there other than Mexican cultures. So, I mean, they're
You'd be
there.
surprised. Houston is a big melting pot.
Of course.
There were some.
Of
There were a
course.
few.
But I mean, just culturally, when there's a lot of Mexicans in one spot, you think they're going to especially point out the Salvadorian, especially point out the Ecuadorian. Yeah, exactly.
But that goes into a lot of other stuff that we're going to get to
Right,
eventually.
right. But before we get into all that, before we get into this topic, we have to thank our sponsor. Guys, we're sponsored. We're sponsored. It's a very special sponsorship. I mean, it's just me, but we are sponsored. MexMerch.com. That's MexMerch. Oh, wait, can they hear me? Oh, they can still hear me. All right. But MexMerch.com is our premier sponsor for this evening. So if you are a real sponsor, though, we're always open to selling ourselves out. But for right now, you can go down to MexMerch.com, get yourself a shirt, get yourself a hat, get yourself something nice for yourself, for your lady, for your man. We have all sorts of things you can get. We got home goods. You cold? I mean, it's like kind of fallish going into summer, but if you're still cold, we got blankets and, it's not all Mexican themed stuff. We got all sorts of designs for everybody. So if you like what you see here on this rolling video, go ahead and go to MexMerch.com, support your local Mexcellent podcast. And if you're watching live on Twitch during our pre-show and our upcoming commercial break, you can find a 10% off discount for your entire order. That's right, 10%. It's a lot. I mean, it might not be a lot, but it's better than paying full price. Probably can help you with shipping or whatever. But also, if you're here on Twitch watching us live, be sure to follow us on Twitch. That'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe on YouTube. Find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are available by searching the Mexcellence Podcast. So just be sure to show us some love, and we will be there for you through thick and thin. We're going to be here forever, so don't you go anywhere. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Now to the show. Marco, now you're in the lead seat. Take us to where we got to go when it comes to our music podcast.
So I've broken this down into like 3 different topics. And the first is like, what is the Mexican American influence you had growing up? And I'm actually going to pass the ball to Alyssa to start off the podcast and be like, hey, what was your Mexican American influence in the city of Eagle Pass?
The city of Eagle Pass itself, Locos. No, for the most part, like I talked about in the last podcast, I spent a majority of my earlier life with my grandparents. And my grandmother always had this radio station on called El Ranchito del Aire. Do you remember? El Ranchito del Aire. But yeah, so a lot of things like that. Grew up with Gary Hobbs because he was from Eagle Pass, things like that. But I would say apart from like my mom's parents, my other influence in like music wasn't necessarily like Mexican American based. It was like very like my other grandmother like strictly listened to gospel music, and then my dad was very much into metal, and my mom was a disco queen.
Oh no, or oh yes, I should say.
Eclectic.
So when you listen to gospel music, was it Spanish gospel like "Oh Sana"?
Oh no.
I wish. No, it was just regular American gospel music. I kind of tuned it out, to be honest. I know they influenced like so much music, like rock and roll, things like that, but it's just not for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, what was your experience with Mexican American music?
Well, like growing up in Houston, I guess like it was everywhere. And then like another story for another time. I just didn't really want to be Latina. I didn't want to be brown. I didn't want to be Mexican. And I was like the only brownish person. So I kind of steered away from anything Latin growing up. But it was always around in my house. My mom played Dominican music. There was mariachi at every single event that we were ever at. It's like my dream to have a mariachi at my wedding. And then also shunned away like country music, because I think growing up in Texas, you're like, oh, anything but country. That's like the thing that you always say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the older I got, when I moved away from Texas, I actually started listening to more Mexican music because I was so homesick. That it was so familiar to me. I started listening to a lot of Tejano music. I started listening to just like ballads like Luis Miguel. I started listening to a lot of just like Spanish music in general, just to tie me back to my hometown. And then, yeah, so that's kind of like my thing. I was very much a pop princess, Britney Spears, the whole way.
Oh yeah, I'm about that too. Is it my turn now, Marcos?
This is exactly your turn.
And this is just the intro, right? This is not even getting into our experience just yet.
No. So just as a heads up, the what's it called? The contents on this podcast are going to be, because I feel like when it comes to music, there's what your parents play for you, and then when you become a teenager, and it's like you explore a little bit and we'll see where that road takes you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to just talk about now what Mexican American or even like Latin artists like, because once we get to now, it's a bigger blend of anything.
Right. Okay. Well, then that makes mine even funnier because I did not like Mexican music growing up. So I grew up in, like I said, maybe not the best part of Fresno, California. And it's less that it was around my family because I'm technically a third generation. So my dad grew up listening to the Beatles and listening to 70s, the Earth, Wind, and Fire, all that type of music, stuff like that. And my mom liked Patsy Cline and Judy Garland, stuff like that. So that's what I listened to growing up. But because I lived in downtown Fresno, the people next door were in a banda during the summers every fucking night. And pardon you, audio listeners. Every fucking night, and they were next door, and I would be trying to sleep. I'm 6 years old. I need my nutrients and my restful sleep. And the face is just vibrating from the bass of them playing their shit. They weren't good. They're shitty banda. So I really didn't like it in that context. But then you'd go to like my cousin Guillermo, his house. They'd always have Mexican music on. You go to functions and they'd have kind of a mixture of like those kind of 70s tracks thrown in with Mexican music. So one day it'd be Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then the other time it'd be Tower of Power, and the other time it would be some sort of banda or Mexican music, chente or whatever. And then the other side of my family, on my mom's side, they're from Texas. So I would get like Tejano music that I didn't realize was Tejano music. It was all Mexican to me. So I'd be like, hey, baby, ¿qué pasó? Like I grew up with that song, the same as you guys grew up with that song being native of Texas. And I thought it was the only vato. Los Lonely Boys, eventually.
Oh my gosh, yes. Los Lonely Boys.
Right. So eventually, that's kind of where my trajectory was, where it's a love-hate, where, like you said, Nicole, it's kind of a familial thing where it reminds you of your family. It's kind of comforting when you're drinking a beer and you hear the music. You're teleported to all those times you were with your family. But if anything vibrates my wall, whether it be modern music or banda, I lose my mind. That is a true story.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say I took a lot of that for granted when I was a little Marco Jr. Because, I mean, I didn't know how small it would be. Like my cousin, people that are growing up in this day and age, they weren't growing up in the exact, like, cave that it was when I was their age. Mm-hmm. But it's like at the point when I was a little baby, it was like, I didn't know that 70% of the Tejano acts were coming from my hometown. So Alyssa brought up Gary Hobbs. He went to elementary school with my mom. Bobby Polido, Los Garcia brothers, they're all from my hometown, like literally like a couple blocks away. I didn't think it was a big deal until Tejano music was kind of in the rear view mirror. Like I think there's no Tejano superstars. It kind of died with Selena, mm-hmm. But it was like a really amazing thing to grow up into. Like I didn't think at 30, I mean, well, I wasn't 32 then, but it was like I would miss growing up at a carne asada, looking with the fire on, and then hearing Ramon Ayala in the background, kind of stuff. Like it's completely different now,
right?
But it's a very like, I don't know, like it was a very specific time to be there, kind of thing, mm-hmm. And that's what I grew up with. And then as I grew out of it, because like kind of like Nicole, it was like I ran away from it in a way where it was just kind of like, no, I got to find my own scene. I got to find my own like musical place.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like, I think I had a Spanish teacher that was like, nobody wants to learn how to dance like that traditional Mexican folklore anymore. Like, cause he was a teacher for that. Scenes just die. Like, it's just how it's meant to be at a certain point.
Right. And it's funny you bring up that like folklorico music and stuff like that. I never
Yeah.
did that. My sisters, I think, did 1 year of it, but my cousins, the ones that we'd go to the parties to,
Yeah.
their kids are doing it now. And like it is rare. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of silly. It's like, all right, I mean, not silly in the sense culturally, but silly in the sense like, all right, you're 6. Go dress in a Philly dress with your shoes, tap around and do the thing as best you can. And then they get older and then if they like it, they keep on with it, right? But I found out like getting little boys to do that, to be the other end of the spectrum for that type of dancing, hardly exists.
So my teacher that brought that up, he was saying when he was a boy, they were doing it on horses.
Oh shit!
So
That would be a lot cooler, honestly.
Right.
but that's the overall thing. It takes so much more talent to get to the point where you're dancing with the horse, doing
Right.
the cool.
Right.
So he was like, no one gets to that point, so that's pretty much a dead style at this point.
Right. Reserved for maybe a couple individuals who have family business or family tradition, right?
Pretty much.
Because
like that.
unless my kids want to do it, they can when I have kids. But otherwise, I'm not going to force them to. It's never anything that I was particularly grown up with or interested in. But I understand the value of it. It's just like any other dance class, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just interesting to me that even just that part of even traditional type of music within the culture is like starting to become a fringe. You know, almost.
It's not as elegant, but it's like Mexican jazz at this point. Like it's like played by old people at barbershops at this point.
Right. Right.
But fringe is when it becomes cool, right? So like maybe that this is like the moment when like it's gonna come back, because I
Right.
feel like those fringe things end up becoming really cool in like 3-4 years.
Right.
So the only time I've seen like that kind of style hit the mainstream was when the Spurs were in the NBA championship, and they had a dude sing. They had a little boy,
It was
wasn't
a
it?
little boy.
too?
He was like 12, saying the
Yeah.
national anthem, mariachi kid.
Yeah, in mariachi outfit,
Yeah,
and
right.
then he got a whole bunch of like racist hate mail or some shit.
Yeah,
like that.
no, so like half of America was like, "That's cool, little kid in a traje singing the national anthem." Perfect example of San Antonio and America. Little Mexican kid in his own traditional garb singing the most American song you can, and people are like, "No, fuck that, wet bird, bean, blah, 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 blah." And it's like he's 12. But now he's like 14, 15, 16 now, and he's like, oh, yeah, people are assholes. Like, he actually realized it at the time, thank God, and was able to do it. But that's kind of the funny thing about, and we'll get into it, Mexican music, Spanish music in general. Because for a while there, there it is. There's no audio on it, but yeah.
I didn't even know the Castros were there.
Yeah, so they're introducing here.
The American Castros.
Oh, Fidel Castro is there. But no, look at Sebastian de la Cruz if you want to listen to him. But there's no audio. Marcos, potentially, if you can.
No,
click out of
I
it.
just muted it. It was
perfect.
just to show that he was there.
But
like
no.
the imagery is what I was going for.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
what pissed people off.
right. It's wonderful imagery, but like you said, it pisses people off. And to Nicole's credit, that folklorico dancing, just specifically to that, is one thing that the BuzzFeed, Facebook, Mexican corporation conglomerates haven't really focused on yet. So I think that's our hook.
I mean, I've seen
The
a couple.
Takis conglomerate.
There you go. The Takis, the hot Cheeto conglomerate, everything is pan dulce, the avocado, guacamole. You know that we're only 5 foods, right? Tacos, tortillas, Topo Chico. That, Topo Chico doesn't have a big hook in the West Coast, but it's getting there. I learned. So, like, we
Does it
didn't.
have a coast? Does it have a hook on the East Coast, Nicole?
It does. They sell it for like $5 at like this super hip Mexican restaurant that's down the street, and it's really annoying. It's like gentrified Mexican soda water. It really bothers me, but it's good.
Right. I see.
It's good, but it's like, yeah.
But
It sounds like when you add Mexican to Coke, they can sell it for $2 more
Yes.
here.
right.
I'm like, it's just real sugar. Like
Right. High fructose corn syrup is practically the same thing. What do you want?
that's a whole nother conversation.
That is a whole other conversation to have. Like Marco's like, music, it's gonna be fun. So Nestle taking over the water sources. But no, but like music, going back to like music though, us growing up, we're all mid-20s to mid-30s. That's just, we're being generous here.
Thank you.
I'm elderly, and so
You're the youngest person here, Sam.
shut up. Don't ruin the illusion. I'm
old.
elderly. I'm not even gonna go there. So we all grew up in the Latin invasion. That was pretty interesting as well. I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, roughly around the time of Ricky Martin. I mean, Menudo was a little bit prior to that. Enrique Iglesias, Gloria Estefan. That was a lot of the music that started taking off in that kind of late 2000 or late 90, early 2000 era. I want to know how that influenced you guys in terms of fighting back, because Marco and Nicole were talking about fighting back against kind of that type of music. Were you guys into that? Or maybe you, Alyssa, were you into that kind of Latin invasion, as they call it now, era of music? Because that was right at a pivotal point where our music tastes either grow or solidify, roughly around that age. So how did you guys think of that era?
There were like a couple of music videos like on MTV Tres that I was into. Like I would say the one band that stood out to me like the most during that era was like Villanova. Like
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
people love Villanova.
Love Villanova. Yeah.
Let me see.
Say Shakira.
I was about
Shakira
to
is
say,
massive.
I remember Shakira just being like, "Oh, it's Latin Britney Spears. That's great."
Right.
But Shakira was like way cooler when she was like just doing her Spanish speaking.
But she's way cooler in general, like in retrospect. But she wasn't at that point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just getting my things set up because I want to bring up some of these clips for some of these artists so I can look up some of these things and set that up beforehand. Apologize for that. Oh my gosh, everything's ruined.
I mean, my first while you're doing all that, my first like run in with Ricky Martin was him doing the World Cup song,
which is awesome. That's my favorite. That's my favorite song of his, I think.
I felt like the World Cup, even at that time, was just so much more magical because of that song.
It was.
Like I don't know if when you get
was.
older, you like miss that. Like it's kind of like Christmas isn't as exciting. For me, the World Cup isn't as. It never got more exciting than when Ricky Martin was singing.
That was
the Cup of Life.
France '96, right? I want to say it was France '96.
It wasn't France, but it was '96.
It was '96. I think France won, but
I was about to say France won at home, so that, I know they didn't win '96.
Do you really want it? Yeah. Like the closest thing was the Shakira's, unfortunately, which was a good, fine song for Waka Waka. That almost took over as equally, but it really didn't have that oomph from Ricky Martin, you know, singing both in English and Spanish, both versions. I actually had to learn the Spanish version in my Spanish class, which is why I like that song even more. But Marcos, what else do you got, man? To paint this narrative for Mexican music.
I just kind of wanted to stay on the subject of what you're at, pass the ball to Alyssa and Nicole, and say, hey, when it did come to that Latin invasion that Sam is talking about, because I think it was Ricky Martin,
Enrique Iglesias,
Santana. It also probably really got his second wave at about that time, or second or third wave, depending on how you want to see it.
Yep. He's been around for the 70s. He was like in Woodstock. He was there at Woodstock, and then went away, or didn't go away, but was kind of there. And then there was a thing where Santana made a song every 5 months with whoever pop artist was there. It was
Matchbox 20,
Rob Thomas. Then it was like Michelle.
Yeah, that's
Branch.
what I was thinking of. Actually,
Michelle Branch. I think he did one with her, and then the guy from Nickelback. He did one. And then another
Wyclef Jean, I think.
Wyclef, he did one like, but his albums are amazing. Supernatural, but
that's such a good song.
Yeah,
look at that. Look how 90s.
Yeah, Smooth by
the best
Carlos Santana, and he's killing it. He's one of my favorite artists of all time.
I didn't even remember that Matchbox 20 dude was wearing a cowboy hat when he was doing this video
because he's in Brooklyn, Antonio. Wherever the hell that's supposed to be at. Some ultimate mecca of Latino culture. But that was the thing. You know, he was playing that Spanish guitar and people were eating it up. They were eating it up and they loved it. And there was an era where I take it for granted now that we don't have nearly as much of direct and this is I emphasize this a lot, Mexican representation. And then you realize, oh yeah, like Gloria Estefan, she was, I forget her ethnicity, but she's not Mexican. She's Cuban. And then
she's from Miami.
She's from where?
That's why Nicole's here, because she would correct me on every time. I'm like, that dude's Mexican. No,
No,
they're not.
Right. But that's the thing. At the time, I'm like, they're all Mexican. They speak Spanish. Hooray! And then you realize, oh.
And you run into Puerto Ricans, and they're like, no, we're not the same at all.
Right. Because dead center of California, there's not a lot of Puerto Ricans. Dead center of California, there's not a lot of Cubans. That's a long way to go. You know, that's like, all right, made it to Florida. All right, let's go all the way across the goddamn country.
I do want to piggyback off that, like what Marcos was saying about like kind of we were shunning our heritage. So when Shakira's like first English album came out, I actually didn't grow up speaking Spanish. I did not want to speak Spanish. It was not something that I hated it. I refused my whole entire life. I'm the first person in my family that did not speak Spanish fluently as a child. And my mom actually paid me money to memorize every single song lyric from that Shakira album. And so I actually knew every single lyric. I didn't know what she was saying, really. I mean, I knew like 80% of it, but
you were learning it phonetically.
Yes. So that's how I learned Spanish, was because my mom would pay. Yes. That music video, I had to learn it in Spanish. My mom, that was like my allowance. I had to learn like Spanish songs.
That's so crazy. It's wherever, whenever, everyone knows that song. Wherever, whenever. And that's the thing. Shakira was both Spanish and English. It's so weird that like after the death of Selena, like it just kind of fell off for just a brief moment and then immediately came back. Because there was that. Like, she died what, 95?
96.
96.
I actually have like a really funny story about that.
Go ahead.
Or actually, no, it's terrible because like Selena died.
Do it. You said it already.
It's too late. You can't tease us.
It was April, March, right, when she was unfortunately murdered. And around that time, like my grandfather would always buy me like those little colored chickens that were pink or blue at the flea market. That might have just been an Eagle Pass.
Yeah, I was like, Marco, I need your.
It's not just an Eagle Pass thing. You can buy them here in Austin, but it's a very weird thing to explain to people outside of that group. That it's like, so they would dye chickens green and red and blue, and we would buy them for like $5.
Like real life animals?
Yes.
Like to take home alive?
Not chicks, like whole chickens.
No, they were chicks.
Yeah, they're chicks, and then they grow up to be
like these.
Oh,
yeah,
exactly like that.
Oh my god,
is that legal?
Maybe now.
Is that a thing? I feel like PETA would be really upset right now.
I mean, they're really cute though. They're
Yeah.
really cute.
It's very Eastery.
I can't condone it, but they're very cute.
But yeah, so that year, my grandfather had bought me a blue chick, and I was, it was like Hal's learning responsibility by like putting it in like its little cage and everything every night. So it's dusk, and I'm actually waiting for the snow cone man in the front yard. Like I have like my quarters and everything ready.
Right.
And my grandmother's like, make sure you put your chicken away after, before you get your snow cone. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna get my snow cone and I'll do it. So she comes out and like she's bawling and she's like, Selena died, but at the same time I'm freaking out because I can't find my chicken. I'm like, that's great. I'm not worried about that right now. I can't find my chicken. And this is very like morbid, but like I found its little leg. A cat had eaten it.
Oh no.
That's like the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
In retrospect, yeah, because I mean, maybe she didn't care about Selena at that point.
Not even in retrospect. At that day, it's the worst day.
It was just so It was such a traumatizing day. Like it was awful. But yeah, I just remember like not being upset over Selena because I didn't get my snow cone and. But I'm also like, I think 5 or 6 years old at this time.
No, but that's like, so your therapist is like, so when was the day it all went wrong? Well, there's the thing, I had the quarters in my head, the cat ate the chicken, then Selena died. My mom was mad at me because I wasn't really mad about the Selena thing. I just wanted a snow cone. Yeah. And she's never trusted me ever since. And so me and my mom have hated each other because I didn't. I'm kidding. This is all fabricated. I'm just riffing. But no, that's awful.
Yeah, so that it's just forever ingrained in my head because everyone's always like, "Oh, where were you? Where like 9/11 happened?" I have like this joke where it's like,
so you want to know what's even funnier about like Selena? I love that movie. So the movie came out in 96, I think. Then 97, the VHS came out. So for my 7th birthday, I wanted the Selena movie because Selena, I watched it and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" Because little did I know, Jennifer Lopez in that movie would be the basis of how I find women attractive. Like every little outfit she's in, I was like, I like that type of girl.
What, she's the 10?
Shit. Yeah, no, it was. I think she was. I think she became the blueprint for what I found attractive. Point being, I was 5 when Selena died. I was younger, and I wasn't into that type of music. So when she died, it flew over me and didn't even pass. My mom might have been upset. My grandma was very upset, but she didn't live with us, so that's fine. So I'm watching Selena the first time, and I'm like, this woman's amazing. And then it just takes a hard right. Because I'm thinking happily ever after. I didn't know she died. So I'm like, oh no. And they're like, when did this happen? Like 2 years ago. And I was like, this happened when I was alive? I was so mad because I was like, but is her music still there? But I'm like, she's gone forever. How did I miss this? It was one of the first times where I was like, how did I miss this? It's like being.
It's so weird that. Oh, sorry.
I was saying, it's like being 4 during when like 9/11 happened, where it's like, hey, you're old enough to know what it is, but you're not old enough to grasp what happened.
The importance.
But yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Oh no, I was just saying like. So I know it sounds bad, but Jennifer Lopez to me is what Selena looks like now. Because like as I was a child when I watched that movie so much that like that's what I thought Selena looked like. So like when I see actual pictures of Selena now, I'm like, oh, that's right. It's like a different person because like my brain wasn't able to like separate the two at that age. So for me, Jennifer Lopez is Selena, and that's kind of terrible.
Well, no, it's even funny. I'll take you a step further. I could tell the difference between Selena and tell the difference between Jennifer Lopez, but Selena's music is sung by Jennifer Lopez in my mind. So if I hear a Selena song, it's Jennifer Lopez singing it. And I know Jennifer Lopez has a different career, but anytime I hear like I could fall, that's Jennifer Lopez in my head. Like, oh, it's a Jennifer Lopez song, clearly. But yeah, of course we were talking about Selena. Selena, dominant in the Tejano and Mexican music and American culture, quite frankly. I mean, you had guys in the 70s. I want to say, was War all Hispanic or indigenous Indian? I forget. But there's a couple bands that made it during that kind of 70s time that were kind of Hispanic or multicultural. Tower Power, definitely multicultural.
Well, that's where I thought you would go from. Because when I argued with your cousin about who has more Mexican artists, it was a dumb Twitter argument. But it was he brought up Mexican funk, and I thought that was something you would bring up.
I mean, it all stems from Santana, and it stems from that kind of it's Bay Area, a big band type of stuff. Bay Area. What's the word? I lost the style of music it is. But yeah, like Tower Power, if you ever look up them, it's just like horns and keyboards and, singers and stuff. And you even got bands, even like the 90s, also Motley being a band where it's very Mexican, Spanish music influence. But like they have a lot of dudes that are like, they have like, I think a Dominican in there. They got like a couple black folk in there. They got all sorts of, they have Asian guy in there playing some like accordion. It doesn't matter. They just pick whoever. And they put out real good music. Right. Yeah, they have everything, Tower Power. Right.
And you mentioned Ozo Motley, but do you know they're like in a Drew Barrymore movie? I didn't even realize that.
They're in a couple. They're like, background
Never Been
music
Kissed or something. I think Never Been Kissed. They're like in it. They're in a band, and Drew Barrymore is like they're gonna go to see Ozo Motley play at like
what
a club
movie
or
is
something.
that?
I think it's Never Been Kissed.
Never
I think
Been
it's Never
Kissed.
Been Kissed.
Oh.
Where they make like a full-on cameo in the movie, and I just realized that like, a few months ago.
I didn't even know they were that old because Sam invited me to see them, and I was like, they're playing at the Mohawk. I just can't get this day off. But I was like, if a band plays for $20, I don't imagine they're that old.
They are in this movie. That is the funniest thing. Yep, that's them right there. But anyway, yeah, she's slapping the drum, slapping her ass. I've not seen this movie. This is all random. But no, they've been around since the 90s, early 90s, 92, 93, maybe even before that. But that said, that a lot of Spanish influence there in that type of music. But then you go from the Latin invasion, and then this is what I studied. 9/11 happens. And then they go, we need to close the borders because those damn Mexicans. It's like, wait, what do we do? What? How did you? No, close the borders. We're done. No more. Fuck you guys. And then we just kind of went away. If we want to kind of loop it back to just popular culture, we had a lot of TV shows on Nickelodeon. Brothers Garcia, Taina. There was a lot of Mexican stars. The George Lopez show seeped in when it was our one thing during that era, kind of the early 2000s.
Taina was Dominican, I just want to say.
Is she? Was she really?
Yeah.
The actual actress or the character?
I think maybe both.
Yeah.
What's
her actual name? She has a real name, but I forget. I'll look it up. Point is, we had a lot of representation, and once again, I just kind of took it as it's all mine because I was Mexican. But you're right. No, there is always different ethnicities that just were Spanish speaking that took over during that time, and we found little kind of bits and pieces here and there, a couple cartoons here and there, but the music kind of just went away. I feel like, and then it was distinctly American pop music, and then well, that's what I'm asking you, Marcos. You follow music. You guys follow music a little bit more. We're around 2005-ish.
Yeah, I was about to say this is where we get into the second part of the subject, where it's just like So because I grew up kind of like Nicole in the sense where it's like I need to find my own scene, I ended up going full circle in a way. Like I went from one point being like, man, it'd be really cool to see people making music that kind of look like me or were from the same similar background.
Right.
And it wasn't there. Like I can probably say in between ages of 10 to 19, let's be generous.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Más o Menos on the Teen Titans. I would look at people that were just had a Spanish accent and be like, "Oh, they're Mexican." Like I used to think Ricky Martin was Mexican.
Yeah,
Just,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
He's in a band called Menudo. I eat menudo. They're fourth of the transitive property of Mexican. By the way, Taina was Puerto Rican, or at least
Taina's
Christina
Puerto
Vidal.
Rican.
Christina Vidal is Puerto Rican.
And then, but she played Dominican on the show in Washington Heights. I have to say, because I will just say, because it's Taina, because it's a play off the Taino Indians, or the natives of the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So that's why her name was Taina in the show.
But Brothers Garcia were actually, I think they were from Dallas because they were Cowboys fans, which I hated. But
It was based in San Antonio.
San Antonio, even worse or better. I'm sorry. Well, no, they were Dallas Cowboys fans, which was the worst part of all of it. They had so many other choices being in San Antonio, but they could have been Spurs fans.
They
It would
had
have been the same.
one other choice if the Texans existed in
No,
95.
the Oilers did at that time.
Yeah.
But the idea being, though, that's where I was like, that's me. There was a little chubby kid, and that was like, that's me. And John Leguizamo was the narrator, and I knew him. He was some sort of ethnicity. I didn't know he was Mexican or Latino. I still don't know, but he does claim.
He's not Mexican.
He
but,
claims
yeah.
it, though. He claims it
Puerto
hardcore.
Rican?
I think he's Puerto Rican because he was in The Pest. He's definitely Puerto Rican, and that's an East Coast movie.
What is his ethnicity? No, but he does claim. He's Colombian. Technically.
Colombian. That is not what I thought.
But
That's not what I would have thought either.
But the idea is he claims it, right? He claims it, and he's still out there trying to get representation out there. He's dope to follow on social media. Do so. But Marcos, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off a little bit there.
No, it's fine. But so outside of gravitating people, like I would want to say that the first, and this is almost embarrassing, the first people that were actually Mexican and were making music and had an impact of what I liked at the time is probably POD.
Oh my God! What's
Youth
a
of the
POD
Nation.
song? Youth of the. I was like, that's the song. They were Mexican, or one of them was.
Like three of them are like
They were
really
like rock star cholos or something like that.
Well,
like rocker cholos.
Oh my God!
I didn't even know they were Mexican until they did their Cribs episode, and they were talking about like, yeah, man, we're going to the carne asada, and I was like, what?
Oh my God! Let's put a little bit into the ears for the people out there if I can. Hopefully they can hear it.
And they were Christian too. It was like
Yeah,
Christian
they were
rock.
Christian. It's like something about disciples of something is what their name stood up or something.
God dang, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. To quote Obi-Wan there. God, I don't know.
Well, that's when I'm like an early teenager, and then
Oh, I think I lost you guys. Give it a moment. Give it a moment, everybody. Give us a moment. We'll be back after these commercial breaks. I don't know why it's doing this thing, but we're doing it anyway. I don't know why my internet gets cut out like it is. But it's okay. We'll be back right here in just a moment.
no
now.
effects.
Time out, Marcos. We lost connection for some strange reason again. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but I lost you there. So you were talking about POD, and
We were still here. Like
I know,
don't
but I didn't get anything on my end.
Okay.
So
So after POD, as me and you have discussed in the podcast, from there I gravitated to No Effects being the other representation of who I was.
Mhm.
And we've already talked about it that El Jefe is Mexican. Like, let me just play this real quick.
I know I'm still looking at POD. I'd like to see who's there.
Like, this was the only Mexican dude that I knew that was making music in my scene. But when I was 14, I was like, oh, wait, there is Mexicans making music.
Isn't Pantera? Aren't they from Texas or something?
I'm not a metalhead, so I was never going to gravitate towards that.
You strike me as a metalhead. I thought you were.
No, I
No?
was always a punk person, which is funny because I know your issue with punks. But yeah,
My issue with punks? I love punks. I get
you
my
bought
heart
me a
broken by
Rancid
punks all the
album.
time.
How did you not know?
I did buy you a rancid album. That's how much I loved you. Oh my God. I would never do that. Yes, that is how I show my love for people. I buy them vinyl. But
There it
I don't know, I
is.
feel like what's that word? I feel like if you're just punk, you also listen to metal. That could, I don't know.
That's
Just like my thing.
racist.
I know that. I was supposed to say that's racist, but it's not. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you're one of them punk kids. You must love metal, you nasty. Yeah, like that leather jackets and spikes.
It does blend into at a certain point where it's just like rock's just in general not a popular genre right now. So it's like if you listen to one, you probably cross over into all of them.
Right. Eventually.
But I've never crossed over into listen to like Pantera and Twisted Sister though. That's JJ's realm.
Yeah, JJ, definitely our resident metalhead here. We kind of leave him to his own devices in the corner. I'm very much pop music guy, as we'll come to discover as we go along here. But
Well, I mean, I think now it's a good time between Nicole bringing up Mars Volta and where we're at. It's
That's
just
right.
like, hey, yeah, what I mean, from the ages of being like a teenager to discovering music to playing, being a DJ yourself, like what Mexican American artists did you learn to as a time that was like, oh wow, this dude's Mexican. I didn't expect that.
I think probably around like 15 or 16 when I like started to like get into music, like being able to go onto like the internet and discover things. I think that definitely changed how we could find music. But I got really into like Julieta Venegas, Aterciopelados, Enanitos Verdes, like so just like getting into like I don't know the alternative-y, I guess, side of like Mexican music. And then yeah, I got like kinky. I'm like was a big thing like Bellanova, and so I started to find Mexican music that didn't sound or like Hispanic Latin music that didn't sound traditional. They were speaking Spanish. They're from our cultures, but the music sounded like the music I listened to in English. And I think that that's what changed things was like oh, like they can make, it's not all like Tejano music. Like they're making cool pop and punk and like, indie rock, I guess, music. And that was like the thing I think that changed everything. And I got into this like weird, like hippie world music phase where I listened to like a lot of like, I don't know, like Latin cumbia and like things like that.
a lot of flutes, a lot of big
a lot of like
flutes.
bongo drums. I wasn't wearing shoes. It was a weird time.
Hey, we all go through it at some point. My brother went through it with those Target. Remember those Target like ambient multicultural CDs they used to have on that wall, where
With
it's
the
like
Putumayo or Putumayo
something like
or
that,
whatever.
where it's just like hear the sounds of blank, whatever, and it would just be like Aztec drums or or something like that. It's like why is Target selling these? Whatever. But listen, you were a DJ too. You are a DJ too. When did that when did you start making that switch where you're like, I'm gonna start putting this all together because my unique vision of putting this type of music together, my tastes and my upbringing. When does that come to pass? Like, how old were you when that started happening?
Yeah, so it basically happened like after my grandfather died. After my grandfather died, I kind of like realized that like a certain part of my life was now like gone with him. And I mean, I think I bought like this regular little like Crosby $80 suitcase like record player,
Mm-hmm.
and was Friends of Sound had also just opened here in San Antonio too. So apart from like ordering like vinyl that isn't just anything nowadays, I think my first record that I ever bought was Childish Gambino.
Right.
Like nothing too spectacular, but it wasn't until like I found like this specific Tigres del Norte like 45, and I was like, my grandfather played this endlessly in the car, and I know this because I recognize like the cassette tape that he had in there.
Right.
And so it was just kind of what you guys were saying, like it was now suddenly like a nostalgic thing for me being able to like hold on to a lot of this music. Another thing that kind of like took me into it was my dad was a metalhead, but he also really liked like Janis Joplin and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. So I also kind of get into like 60s psych music, and that kind of had like a really big scene here in Texas with 13th floor elevators and Rocky X but that psych route kind of introduced me to a lot of the music that I play now. Kind of fell into a lot of like Peruvian chicha because that's kind of like the basis of like where psychedelic like kind of started from.
Right.
And from there, like I learned that Mexico has like this really great psychedelic scene as well. There's this really cool record shop in Mexico City. It's called Discodelic, and I learn a lot of bands through them. Honestly, like there's this really cool band that I'm into right now, Bocaraca. They released 45 not too long ago, but it's really cool. But just falling into that, I started collecting a lot of Texas music. That's like the basis of like what my vinyl collection is. So it's made up of a lot of different components, like from Tejano to from Gary Hobbs, Mas, things like that. To I have like Paul Wall and Bun B.
Yes.
Paul Wall.
Yeah.
God.
And this is what you blend whenever you do live music?
No, I don't really play a lot of like my Houston hip hop records.
That's a shame. That's
You
a shame.
I should have like a specific type or something. But yeah, from there, just learned like a lot of like really cool cumbia, psychedelic bands. Like Los Daddies is a really good one. They're actually from out there in California. They're on the Disco Mas label.
There it is. No,
There's
that's
a Chilean band you would like, Los Jaivas. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I haven't.
It's Jaivas. They're like what's that band that you're like in a cult here in America? There's a lot of them.
the Grateful Dead.
No, it's like a more like not Brian Jones Song Massacre. Not Flaming Lips, but like they're like that, but the Chilean version, and it's like a family affair. They've been going on since like the 60s, so it's like their kids, and they just do a bunch of drugs, and there's like 20 of them. The ones that wear the white robes.
Jesus and his disciples.
Cosmic.
I don't know.
Anyway, Los Jaivas, you would like them. You should listen.
Check them out. I'm actually writing it down right now.
So Marcus, we're talking about our growing experience with Spanish music or music in general.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's the most awful. Mine is the most. We were talking about Tinder on the pre-show and my foray into dating. Well, here's the funny thing. So I go to college and I sign up. I go, mind you, I'm fourth generation, don't speak Spanish. And oh, wait, why am I?
Because I'm fixing it in pre.
Fixing it later. That scared me.
Okay.
We'll get there. We got to make sure the stream doesn't cut out midstream for some reason. This is the fourth time it's done that on this show only, but not on any of the other shows.
I was about to say, like, you played video games yesterday. Did it not cut out?
Didn't do it there. But anyway, beside the point. So, I speak only English. I eventually went from Southeast Fresno, which is not the bum, 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 bum side of town, to the new developed town side of town, mostly white people, let's just be honest. And then I went to college. But I signed up for the Chicano Latino floor in UC Santa Barbara, which is in Southern California. And a lot of other Southern Californians made it to that school and signed up for the Chicano Latino floor. And a lot of them were from like LA and Compton and Boyle Heights and Huntington Park and a bunch of places that are very scary and very Mexican. and so they're all smart people. I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. But they were speaking both English and Spanish, and I was clearly a fish out of water. And so I'm like, oh, my God, I am in over my head. What have I done? Because I'm just a kid from Fresno. I then end up, as I go along, learning a little more Spanish and hearing the music that they play. But then I started getting involved in an organization called Hermanos Unidos. And they're a non-frat, but they do like community service. We did outreach programs, and we partied a lot as well. And at those parties, they would play regular music, regular pop music, I should say. And, your regular, and at the time it was like party rock anthem and all that type of electronic, dubstep was all the rage around that time, dating me ever so slightly. And then what would happen was a Pitbull song would come on, Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide. And I'd be like, okay, I could get down with this. And then not every so often, every time around 12th, no, 11:45ish. Pitbull song would come on. Bam, Spanish tracks. And I did not know how to dance to Spanish tracks at all. And then these people knew the difference between the salsas, bachatas, the cumbias, all that. And I didn't. And so I'd be dancing with somebody. I'd be like, oh, you're cute, whatever. And he'd go to Spanish music, and I'd be dead on arrival because I wouldn't know what the fuck to do. And so I said to myself, I got to learn. And so I started listening to the music. And then I started going up. And this is a strategy for you young folks out there that once social distancing is over, I would just go up to the prettiest girl at the party when the Spanish music would come on, and I would just say, I don't know how to dance to this. Could you teach me? Oh, and usually they were gracious enough to do so. And they would teach me. By the time I was a senior, I was still doing that. But it'd be like a minute in, and I'm just spinning them and dipping them. And they're like, wow, you're a really good teacher. And so that's how I got familiar with a lot of the music that essentially now, which is even funnier, is part of like the Mexican TikTok kind of generation and the very popular musical tracks like El Sonidito. Everyone knows that song. It's like, what's the song that sounds like a fire alarm? That song, you know. Everyone knows that song. But my favorite one, and this is the one that got me back to my roots, that brought it back. So at the end of every event that we would throw, as Manos Unidos would throw, at the end, you would just hear El Rey would come on, and we'd all get in a big circle and hug, and we'd all sing it and rock back and forth. Llorar y llorar. And I was like, and I don't know Spanish, but I'm singing it full Spanish, all of my heart, fucking gritoing like I've been doing it 100 years. I hadn't. And that became something where it's like, that was another form of familiarity now. Now that Spanish music, the party Spanish music, was interlocked with my family stuff and a lot of my close friends during that time. And so then that kind of closeness came to where it's like, okay, if I hear those songs, I just start dancing like a madman because I had such a blast during that time. And then that's kind of where the marriages of the music I had growing up, the Santanas, the Tejano music, I didn't really, undefined Tejano music that was just kind of there, the banda music that I grew up with, and chente and stuff. And then it all kind of came to a pass where it's like, okay, now I have a full understanding of Mexican music. And then, oh my God, I just lost the name of it. What's the new popular Spanish music? Oh my God. What am
reggaeton?
No, reggaeton. There you go. Why couldn't I think of the word reggaeton?
Because it's not new. It's 10 years old at this point.
I know, but it's new to other people because we were.
I get it. At the point we were telling the story, it's new. It's like Daddy Yankee.
Well, no, Gasolina was like a couple of years prior to me. I was still in high school when Gasolina came out, I think. And but I was still like, oh shit, this song's dope. And so then you mix that in, and then that starts kind of growing. And then it pauses a little bit, and then Despacito comes out. And it was already kind of famous around Despacito, but then that song came out.
Despacito's only like 5 years old.
I know. But that was the one that made it like, all right, we're doing this now. And then Drake started having fucking the songs that were like that, and then everyone uses those beats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the same rhythm.
Bad
Bunny comes, and now he's the number one star in one of the number one stars in the fucking world, right? That's the evolution. People don't know. At least I assume that the general population doesn't know that that's not Mexican. That's completely independent.
I would say the general they would know it's not. But I mean, I'm just amazed that this dude took off. Like, it's great that it did because he's the artist that I would feel like the Latinx community needs at this point.
He's amazing in all the ways.
It's funny because we want representation, and then we get guys like that, and he's very pro-trans, very pro-gay, he's very androgynous in a lot of ways, in some ways, and a lot of women love that. I love it myself. It makes me uncomfortable, and I address that it makes me uncomfortable in certain ways, but that's because I'm not used to it. And I'm at least aware enough to know it's like, oh, that's for a reason, and those are my biases. I gotta chill. It's really all it is, and I'm pretty good at checking that. But there's a lot of people that are still weirded out by him and don't quite understand him, and so he's hanging around. And that
goes into the next topics that we'll be talking about on this podcast.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think this is the point for the break because we're about to get into the last part of this podcast.
Oh my!
That's how you want to do it.
Oh my God, we're getting into commercial territory. That means I got to do a commercial break, which means everyone can find out our 10% discount code when they watch. So we'll be right back after this. I'll go ahead and refresh my drink, and then we'll wrap everything up. Thanks for sticking around, folks. We'll be right back after this. Oh, I forgot to turn you guys back up. That whole, since we got back from the commercial, was a waste. No, the best part is that it's audible on my end. So, nope, actually, no, that's not the case. Whoops, I forgot. God damn it. That's on me. So let's start our picks again. Where's the future of Mexican music?
All the way back. That was such an organic conversation. I don't know.
I know. God dang it. You know
Rehearsal.
what? Rehearsal. Because we can go back to the fact
Maná.
that Maná was there. The Cheetah Girls were there.
I knew that was there.
Neon Indian. I do say we have to give Neon Indian a little shout out.
Neon Indian.
Is he Mexican?
I think he's Mexican, and his most recent album, I think if you listen to like Toyota Man is the song, it samples La Cucaracha. It's a really good song. I feel like you really need to listen to it.
I'm gonna check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Neon Indian is. He's definitely.
Neon Indian is from Austin. I mean, I saw them in Austin.
Yeah, he's from Denton. Mexican born, Alan Palomo.
Well, there it is. Let's see.
This is Dos Santos. I'm already into this band.
So what's interesting is that this is like their slow stuff. Like they're normally really heavy and like kind of punk.
It's kind of funny because it reminds me of like when people tell me Connor is so good at concerts. Connor from Bright Eyes.
Oh
It's
God.
I've never seen him live. And all his stuff that I know is slow, but everyone's like, yeah, he's so amazing. And he plays his stuff faster. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
I think an honorable mention should be Galiucci's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
She is, she's not Mexican though. I did know that.
Colombian.
She's Colombian.
She's from this area. She's from like DC, Virginia area, I think.
oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, she's like from here. There's a whole lot. If you like go onto Twitter, that you can like read all the threads about the controversy about how she's like really played up this like kind of like chola, look.
Right.
But that's not really. She's like not. That's not.
Right. And
what she was.
so, by the way, this is live. Yeah, Spider-Man for a cause. The fact that you couldn't hear half of our audio should indicate that this was a live podcast. But hey, this is episode 2. And Nicole will definitely have more insights on other things. But because we lost that one question of Mexican artists for the future, I do want to ask one more question so that way we have a little more content for this episode because it is going so well. But I do want to tell real quick as I make that adjustment for losing the audio.
So side note, asterisk, Nicole is who I wanted for this podcast way back when. I told her about the last episode way too last minute.
Okay.
No,
Well,
you didn't. You didn't even tell me about it.
yeah, dude.
No, I told you about afterwards, and you were like, yeah, I kind of got plans.
No, yeah, you told me after the podcast happened, and I was like,
Yeah.
I would have done it.
Yeah.
Point being, Caliucci's going back to that. I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm down with her, and I thought I was just being a hater, which sometimes I am. But then I looked at her look, and yeah, it was like very chola-ish. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, she's Colombian, and you're telling me that that's actually a concern. I'm glad that like my cholo senses, even though I'm not a cholo by any means, it was like the alarm was off. It was inauthentic. And that's another thing that I worry about is, and this is where my question was, because it was organic and it is something that I am concerned about for the future. And that is Canadians speaking Spanish in their songs, namely Justin Bieber and Drake. No, not specifically them. But as reggaeton, as we become more of a Spanish-speaking population, Mexican, every sort of Latinx culture starts making more money for people when it comes to our buying power, when it comes to music and movies and things like that. When people start tapping into the fact that our rhythms are popular and people like our music, a lot of people that are not of the culture are going to start trying to duplicate it and emulate it. And we're very close to, like Despacito. people got mad at Justin Bieber, or they loved the song. Then Justin Bieber performed it at his own concert, and he was saying like "burrito, burrito," like he didn't know the words to the Spanish,
Yeah, I remember
and everyone
that.
got pissed. And I was like, "What the fuck did you expect? Did you think he was gonna respect the culture? No,
It's
Daddy
not
Yankee."
about respecting the culture. It's about respecting the language. Like he'll definitely learn that song phonetically and did it thousands of times.
Right. I understand that, but Daddy Yankee, businessman, hey, biggest pop star in the world, one of the biggest pop stars in the world. Let's make a track with them. Absolutely, a remix to a track I've already made that's really popular. By all means, I don't mind that. Drake throwing his Spanish, like throwing in Spanish and stuff. The Weeknd, I like The Weeknd. I love Hawaii, but that song. But it's like, okay, he's just kind of doing it just to do it. It's not really his thing. Is he also Canadian? Yeah, he's also Canadian. Jesus.
They're all from Toronto.
They're all from Toronto. Yeah, so a lot of these Toronto people sing in Spanish. What's going to happen? I'll say this for you, Marco. What if you see like Justin Bieber all of a sudden wearing zoot suits or something? Or like starts taking on some sort of Chicano culture. Or people start dressing like cholos that aren't really
I
cholos.
feel like I already saw Michael Jackson wear zoot suits, and I was just like, okay.
But Michael Jackson could do whatever he wants. To be fair. But I guess, well, like Shia LaBeouf being a cholo in the movie, it's going to go to music.
He tatted his chest. Like, he gets a pass. But I do feel like it's funny that, like...
But does he,
'cause
though?
No. Here's where I think it's funny. And it's just because it's the realistic part of the conversation. We're so desperate for representation that when you see Shia LaBeouf playing a Mexican, do I see why it's bad? Yes. I'm kind of smart. My Latina cousins, no, they love that shit. They're like, oh, he's hot. Like, playing...
Right. And that's right for the pick.
But I want to make a comparison. So, my favorite podcaster is named Hassan, and he is Middle Eastern. And he talks about, like, no, Middle Eastern people really love that Aladdin is set in Middle Eastern times. And they love the songs when the guards are like, we're going to cut off your hands if you do something bad. Like, it's, like, just universal for cultures that don't get much play, that it's just like, no, we're okay with this because at least we're on TV.
Right. By the way, Argo, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate the subscription. But no, so you think that...
I don't think it's just the reality of it. It's that's why we're doing this podcast, where it's just like, what is real and what's not.
Right.
But that's the thing is like when Justin Bieber is singing Despacito, like we know he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But when like Kali Uchis is like, yes, I'm a chola, like look at me, and you're
Right.
like, oh, she's from like Greenbelt, Maryland, had blonde hair and was like very white passing and a white person her whole life, and now she's kind of jumping onto this like the Takis Latinx kind of vibe.
Can we call it that though? Is that already called that? Because that's a great
I don't know, but
nomer.
that's like when I think
The
I think
Takis
it's like-
Latinx trend.
I feel like the Latinidad. I'm just like, I love her music, and I've loved her music for a while now. But
It's good music.
like, yeah, it's like you're really upping this thing that like you weren't this thing not that long ago.
What's
Right.
wild is that I thought she was from Argentina because I like follow her on Instagram and things like that, and like everything that she posts, it's like in Argentina. So like, you saying
No,
that
she went to high school like 30 minutes away from me.
That is wild.
Exactly. So it's like okay, like yes, it's like me being like I'm super Dominican, I'm Dominicana, but like I grew up here in the United States. It's like I'm not. I don't know. I think there's just like a level of like playing to, and there's like a bunch of Twitter threads that call her out on so many different things, but that yeah, like it's just like being authentic to you. Like Justin Bieber's not trying to be Puerto Rican. Like
So-
you just know that.
Hey, so I'm gonna do the rest of the podcast like this, okay? Because like I got the top button done, and I'm gonna do it, okay?
So
Vato.
I know that you're played a character and how dumb that is, but there's a girl that does that on TikTok,
Yeah.
and now I follow her just because it's like, all right, well, now
Right.
she's my friend.
Right, but but like it's a certain point it's fun, but at another point it's like, hey man, this is the new podcast. We're gonna take it a whole this direction. We're gonna talk about burritos, your favorite Takis flavors, and how many pan dulces you can eat in one sitting, eh? That's our podcast now. And it's like, do we need
That's
another
what
one of
makes-
that?
That's what makes us different. Is that we're trying to see what's authentic and what's real, and we're all American, like all four of us. Like we're
Right.
very Americanized. I think you probably know the least Spanish of us.
I do.
I'm
Not
like,
Spanish.
I have a lot of other faults that are like, yeah, no. I mean, definitely Alfred even gives me shit about like, nah, you're basically white because.
But the idea is, are we okay with people taking it just because we don't have anything? Music, and we're talking about musically in this instance, because when The Weeknd starts speaking Spanish, he, like I said, it doesn't matter to him. It's just him doing a performance. But when it comes to actual Spanish-speaking artists, and I mean, Caliucci's being one of them, she makes her own, makes her music, she sings it, that's fine. Her appeal being fake, they're artists, they got to put up some sort of front, the guys from Parliament Funkadelic, not real aliens. So, everyone has their thing. So, I'm glad that you two appreciated that. I was like, who had a real big persona,
That was
right?
a good joke.
But the idea is, we're real people, and we always get mad at people. Cinco de Mayo is right around the corner, and we get pissed every year when the white people are wearing the mustaches and the
when
hats.
Cinco de Mayo happens, we're going to be talking about racism.
Hell yeah! But no, but we get, but people we get pissed off. We get mad at people that do that stuff. But are artists getting a pass? Beyonce dressed up as Frida Kahlo one year, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, yeah, it's Queen Bee," and I'm like, why does she get a pass? I mean, I guess she's not disrespectful about it. She wasn't being disrespectful about it, but that's ours.
But did she make herself look Mexican?
She gave herself the unibrow.
She has that song Mi Gente that she like sings in Spanish and everything.
Right.
She is from Houston. Like, she does kind of maybe have a Mexican influence. But yes, you give artists a pass, and it's because artists are trying.
And do we give artists of color more of a pass than we would white artists?
Ooh.
To do what exactly, or in what regard?
Like, if I don't know,
like you grade their movies on a curve, or that you say like, oh,
Yeah.
this dude is Hispanic because he has an O at the end of his last name.
Like Beyonce, okay, she's black, so she can dress up as a Mexican woman appropriately, right? But then if I don't know, if Justin Bieber dressed as a Mexican man or a cholo, that wouldn't be as okay. Is that?
I think
fair to say?
I think Beyonce is a different being because she is a different being. She's one of the most. She's beyond music at this point. She's more of a world icon, even beyond music or industry. So it's a hard comparison because Justin Bieber is a music icon, but he's not a world icon. He's not. He doesn't have the same pull. Beyonce can do a lot of things that a lot of people can't. Just period. So I just think that it was unfair that.
I think Nicole's question is really fair. If you just change it from Justin Bieber to Shia LaBeouf, did he get a pass because he's a world icon?
He got a pass because he's a white guy.
But he's also an abuser now. So.
Well, no, he's always been one, but people tend to ignore it because he's a artiste or whatever. Some people get more chances than others. Clearly, we know that. Less so these days now, thank goodness. People get mad about cancel culture. It's a different podcast. But I don't know. I kind of get irritated when it's a non-native Spanish speaker speaking Spanish in a song. I'll still dance to it. I'll still enjoy it because the rhythms are ours and the music is ours. And Lord knows that maybe a Latin person is getting work, right? As the producer or the trumpet player or the drummer. But it still irks me, because the name's not at the forefront, and that's what's more important to me is I'd rather have Spanish music from people that have done it and is their thing, even if it's Spanglish. Like Kuko's a perfect example. He's Spanglish. He's just an American kid like me. He's like, okay, I know a little bit of Spanish. I can sing it enough. I can rap in it enough, and that's it. That's great. But Justin Bieber, he's Canadian. We know his background. He's been doing this since he was 13. There's no way he has any sort of influence. There's no argument there. Drake, same thing. I don't know if Degrassi had that many Mexicans in that high school. It's like...
Well, it's a high school in
They had
Canada.
that one.
I know.
The one that got pregnant.
Oh my God, I didn't watch the show. That's awful.
It was the pregnant one. No, they made the Latin girl, the quote unquote the slut.
Of course they
She
did.
got pregnant at 15. She wore thongs. What's her name? I forgot. Cammy.
What was Degrassi on? Because it wasn't on Nick.
The N.
The N, which is the
Yeah.
teen Nickelodeon.
The noggin, but for the teens.
But that's what I'm saying though, is like, because we're in a world that is so, nothing's a mystery anymore. We can look up everything and everything's been recorded. New artists, we're gonna know exactly. We have Facebook pictures of them being newborns, right, from the day they were born to now. So it's like DaBaby can't be like, oh yeah, I love Mexicans. I hang out with Mexicans all the time.
DaBaby is an artist.
I know he is. That's what I'm saying. DaBaby, but like that's what maybe I got confused. But DaBaby's gonna be like, yeah, I did a Spanish track because I love Mexicans. But we see his MySpace profile, no Mexicans there. All kids from an upper crust, private school. I'm just lying, right?
There's just a difference between homage and I'm trying to be that. And then I think that both a lot of cultures understand the difference. And I think the Mexicans are actually pretty bad at understanding the difference sometimes.
It's just because we don't get it. It's just like you said, to your credit. Go ahead, Alyssa.
So just kind of taking it like off subject or anything, but like, did you know that there's like a really prominent like Tejano Cholo scene in Japan?
Yep. Which to me, that's homage, because they're not trying to do it for gain. They're doing it to be inherently what they find authentic. Let's look at that. Can you look it up, Marcus, actually, or I can pull it up?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really interesting. Like it's beyond interesting.
Yeah. Have you heard of this, Nicole? Have you seen these guys?
I feel like I've heard of it, and when I think of that, I kind of think of like on our end, like the Gwen Stefani, the Harajuku girl thing,
right?
Where she like had like Harajuku girls on leashes.
Well, she was
like,
Chola too for a moment there. Gwen Stefani, yeah. She's been all of it.
I give her the LA pass, right? 'Cause she's from LA.
Fair enough, right?
Right.
But she did it, and people let it happen, and people have brought it up, and they're like, that's fine, because she did everything, right? She's just kind of, like I said, an artist making changes,
these
making
are
appearances.
Like old school Tejano.
No, these guys are Tejano. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Play the music.
Yeah.
Turn the headphones up.
They're all Japanese, in case you can't tell the difference.
This is Conjunto J.
That is amazing.
So in pre-COVID times, this festival completely and
I'm sorry, listen, we couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just like pre-COVID times, that Conjunto Festival, it's like a huge staple here in San Antonio. It's like completely free, and it would happen like every year.
I want to go see that.
Is that during what's the festival?
Fiesta. No, it's not during Fiesta. I want to say it's like a couple of months before or after.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. See, I was thinking completely different. I was thinking about the lowrider cholos, Japanese people. That's a whole subculture.
Have you seen what they did to lowriders?
Did they make them Gundams? Because I want them to do that.
No, they just like scientifically made hydraulics so it slowly rises and falls, so it doesn't jump like a Mexican lowrider.
That's kind of cool. I mean, ours are pretty rickety when it comes to that regard. I mean, it's all airbag.
Well, they're airbags.
Yeah, it's all airbag pistons, right? Yeah, but see, I think that's the main difference. Those guys aren't doing it to be like, I'm pandering. Those guys are like, I love this music. I don't care if I'm Japanese. I'm Tejano at heart, right? And they pull out the accordion and they do their thing. That's in terms when it comes to the soul of music. That's where it comes from. My parents would be disappointed in me for not bringing this up. My grandfather was a musician his entire life. He was a drummer. And a lot of my understanding of Tejano music was from drumming and stuff like that. And so when you see him do it and you see my cousins do it and my uncles do it and they're not making much money and they're still doing it, that's for the love of the game, baby. These people right here, just to sidetrack back to the Japanese cholos, they're doing it for the love of the game, baby. It makes no sense. It's unclear to me how that happens, but they're not hurting anybody, to my understanding. Unless they're gangbanging like cholos, then I wouldn't like it. But right, but a lot of it is just aesthetic, right? So you could make that argument that even some aesthetics are American culture. Our stuff is American culture, so therefore people could take it. But music specifically, as much as I don't like the bump, 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 if someone takes it that isn't of the culture or isn't close to it and doesn't love it, then it's not worth anything. And I think that we're very dangerous when we let Justin Bieber sing songs like that, where they just don't care. I think it gets diluted is my concern. I don't know what you guys think, but that's how I feel.
I'd like to listen to an interview or someone maybe ask some of these singers, why did you choose to sing that verse in Spanish?
Sure.
I want to know their why, their intention behind it, because I think that would clear it up. I feel Justin Bieber's would be like, oh, my producer gave it to me.
But that's what I feel that the answer would be, is that the producer made me do it because it's going to make lots and lots of money. I can't see it being why that makes no sense to me why anybody would, unless they loved it. Or the producer told them. And I don't think Drake loves it. I know Justin Bieber, he proved he didn't love it because he didn't know the fucking words.
Drake really love anything.
Yeah, Jake Freak.
Rihanna.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. It's kind of pathetic at this point.
Well, bro, I want to end this on a positive note, which is because we just had this random argument about representation and stuff. So I just want to be hey, here are three completely different artists that you should check out if you like Mexican Americans making music. And my first is, so this dude is called Jimi Hendrix, but with an accordion. And it's Flaco Jimenez.
Is it Jimi Hendrix with an accordion?
No, I thought that's what the name was too. No,
Okay.
No,
his name is Flaco.
Jimi Hendrix with an accordion instead of a guitar. That's how good this dude is.
Wait, so
this is his...
Flaco Jimenez is the name of the artist, not Jimi Hendrix with an accordion, which is a great name for a band also.
It's like Chicano Batman. I love that.
Right. But that's I'm taking that as my nickname. I should make that my Twitter name. Jimi Hendrix with an accordion.
Fun fact about Flaco Jimenez, he was the first person that I opened up for DJing.
What? That's awesome.
Are you famous?
No.
I'm am I here with a famous person? I don't even realize it.
That's real neato.
The right places at the right time.
I kicked somebody off the stage so I could do it. I tied him up in the bag and I said I was this person and I did my thing. No.
Well, onto the rock brand of things. I'll go with the woman band from San Antonio as well, Fee.
Fee or Fea?
I think they're
Fea.
Is it Fee?
I was trying to translate, but yeah, that's fine.
I like it.
There it is. And you have one more, you said?
Yeah.
Put that in the headphones, man. Turn that up. Just for the audio listeners, man. They're over here wondering who these people are.
The last one is rap. It's Snow the Product.
She's real big on the underground. I don't know why I said it like that, but and you know what, Marcos, since we're doing this as well, because you gave your three, and because I didn't record it, our picks before, this is a perfect time to round it out. Alyssa, your picks that you had mentioned earlier.
Yes. So my first one was Dos Santos. They are from Chicago. They are amazing. My other one was Chicano Batman. I want to say they're from California.
I'm not sure either.
But another band that I want to mention that I just thought of right now, I don't think that they're Mexican. I think they're
This is Dos Santos, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alyssa. Sorry. Marcus, you cut her off mid-sentence.
Trying to be helpful.
I know. But she was like, and then, pa-da-da, por amor. It's like, oh my God. That didn't work out.
No, but my last band, I think they're actually just Mexican. I don't think that they're Mexican American, unfortunately, but they're called Los Master Blues. And they have a version of Daft Punk's One More Time.
What? Say less. Say less. Play it. I'm sorry,
I was
listen.
going to say masturbation. Am I the only one that thought she was going to?
No, I didn't think she was.
Okay, sorry.
And someone has been heartbroken, as she mentioned it several times during this podcast. Hey, all right, I'm sorry. Los Master Plus. Una vez más. Oh my God.
This
I
is
love
good.
that. I love this.
That's awesome.
Oh my god, I'm listening to this as soon as we get off this call.
They have so many other great covers. They're amazing.
Holy shit, I dig that a lot.
Yeah, that's not even. They have other covers that are just as good.
Oh, that's amazing. And then Nicole, back to you. Remind us, due to my insubordination, that's not even the right word, but I've messed up. Your pick that you had for Latino, Latina, Chicano, Chicana, Latinx artist.
My number one pick of all time is Julieta Venegas, just always.
Mm-hmm.
And then modern pick, I mentioned Cuco, and then Mana. I mentioned Neon Indian. a lot of things. Belinda. If you want to play a clip of Belinda, she has a song called Ni Freud, Ni Tu Mama. And it's so fun. So it's like N-I and then Freud, because it's like not Freud.
Okay.
Not Freud or your mom. So she was a cheetah girl or like a Mexican cheetah girl.
She was I was like, what's a cheetah? Jaguar.
Yes.
Ooh. Wait, this is neat. What is this again? Hover over?
Neon Indian.
Neon Indian.
He was real big like in 2009. I feel like just made a comeback recently with like more Mexican Latinidad Takis style music.
Also, hold on, let me see. This is gonna be at my dark horse pick. What is his name?
Is it Brown Justin Bieber?
No, it is. Speaking of television stars, we're gonna talk about real quick. My favorite, Drake Campana. Did you guys hear about this guy?
No.
Drake Bell from Drake and Josh.
Oh.
Apparently.
This is ridiculous.
So here, apparently, his music that he makes, Drake Bell, is really popular in Mexico. Listen to this. You can turn this up. Let's play this out a little bit. Que tengo la camisa negra y una pena que me duele mal parece que solo me quedé y fue pura todita tu mentir que maldita.
That's ridiculous.
That's actually kind of our penultimate. We leave off on that question because his music huge in Mexico. He said, "All right, I'm gonna learn Spanish. I'm gonna call myself Drake Campana, and I'm gonna make a Mexican artist." Be a Mexican artist. He clearly very white and clearly doesn't have the history.
But this seems good. This seems like he's okay.
He's allowed to the carne asada way.
Wasn't he a Trump supporter?
Let's just a quick Google.
No.
Drake
you can't tell me that.
It got to the point that Josh didn't even invite him to his wedding, and there was like this huge falling out between.
Is Drake transphobic?
Have you seen the movie El Mariachi?
No.
It's about the guy who was in one of those like X-Men movies, the white guy. And he went to Mexico to learn how to be a mariachi because he went to a Mexican restaurant like in Idaho and then like left. It was like one of those like, I don't know, Cannes Film Festival, international film festivals. But yeah, it's that white guy from the X-Men movies who...
There's a lot of white guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of white guys in X-Men movies.
He's like famous. He's like a famous X-Men.
There's a lot of... Michael Fassbender.
No.
It's not Ian McKellen or Patrick Stewart. I can't imagine. God, there's a lot of white dudes in X-Men.
Sean Ashmore.
Sean Ashmore.
He played. You know his face. He played Iceman.
Oh.
Okay. I know.
So the guy who played Iceman, yeah, there's a movie where he was like in the middle of small town America. He was in a Mexican restaurant, mariachi played, and he's like, I want to be that.
So this is my random favorite meme that I found trying to find out if Drake supported Trump.
Where's the wall?
But where's the answer? Did he really?
No, nothing I could see right away.
Anything that says that he did.
That might have been something.
But people are conflicted, and that is but that's the thing. It's genuine interest. It's genuinely lucrative he sang the Spanish words correctly. Clearly, he knows the words or what he's singing.
Is he from LA or some place
It
where
doesn't-
he picked up Spanish?
It doesn't matter. He's a Hollywood child
But
kid.
he's speaking Spanish better than you, who is Mexican. Like he definitely picked up the language somewhere.
Hey, I've been told that when I speak Spanish, it's very. He's from Santa Ana. It's actually, they said I have no accent, which is interesting because I don't know Spanish. But if I read Spanish or if I'm speaking in a Spanish accent, I don't have an accent, so I'm like an announcer, which was kind of neat. So that said, he is from Santa Ana. He's from Southern California, so arguably there. But then again, Santa Ana is not like the most. So who knows?
Can we do a segment where we do like pass or fail, where we like just like hold up
Yeah,
people,
I love
and
that.
It's like, do they get a pass or do they not?
Can't-
And so we just hold up things. and like,
Just like we'd make the definitive decision. I would love that.
yeah, he gets a pass.
So he does. Okay, Drake gets a pass. Margaret, does Drake get a pass? Drake Bell.
I mean, I wouldn't call him Mexican, but he's definitely singing songs great. Like that's great Spanish music that he's making.
All right, Alyssa, does he get a go?
I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
Right, right. It feels not right to me. Also,
Yeah. No.
so
It's the name Campana. That's a little much.
that was a little much. Yeah, but we'll call that a coin toss to be determined. You're on notice, Drake Bell. But Marcus, I think that's it, man. Unless we got any more
No, that
pressing
was the-
questions.
We actually ran kind of long. I feel bad for keeping Nicole up till midnight.
We
but,
we had to make up for about 12 minutes that we lost there. So I do apologize.
sleep.
I'll put that on my stuff here. I'll actually have to record something before we get off. Like, hey, sorry folks, I'm a dumb man after the commercial break. So, but otherwise, no, this was great, man. What's our next one for this show?
So it's basically so this was the fun episode. We'll do fun again after the next episode because we'll probably go into food. But in between, we're just going to talk about like the not fun racism that everyone avoids talking about when it comes to Mexican American culture.
All right. That one's gonna be treading lightly on that portion there. But you know what? This was a great episode. I want to thank everybody for being here. Marco, thank you for hosting. Alyssa, once again, thank you for joining and being ever so lovely on this podcast as always. And Nicole, what a pleasure it's been to have you on. A lot of great insight. It's funny because like it may have got lost in the editing, audio listeners or maybe video listeners, but Nicole and Marco dated. I can see why. You like it's just like you gelled with me very quickly. Me and Marcos are very close friends. So me and you, Nicole, we're dope. From my consideration, we're dope.
That was way too cool for him. I'll tell you that.
It's clear. It's very clear. But anyway, Marco, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, if you just type Jail Marco 62 into anything, I'll pop up, including Words with Friends, if you want to give me a go.
God, Alyssa, you need one too. But where can they find you?
So there's two places they can find me. Me personally, I'm at Ali_Bun. And then if you want to follow Strawberry Jams Vinyl on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we spin vinyl around San Antonio. Weird music.
There it is. That's how you spell it, right? ALY_Bun.
Yeah.
Perfect. You got it there. And Nicole, where can they find you if they can find you?
Yes, you can find me in my rants on Twitter, Nicole Marie 305. It's an unhealthy stream of consciousness.
Hell yeah. I'm for it.
I'll add you on Twitter right now.
I know. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, one more time because Twitter, I'm starting to become a monster on Twitter. I just start calling out Ted Cruz. I'm totally going to get fired from my jobs because I'm just calling Ted Cruz a dumb idiot all the time. One more time for me, though, for the Twitter.
Nicole Marie 305.
There it is. You came up the top, followed by Marcos.
She's
All right.
like a shark or something right now.
Perfect.
Am I? Oh, I'm a dolphin. I
And
love dolphins.
in the meantime, you can find me, Sammy Gonzalez, on the Mexlets on all forms of social media. Once again, we're doing a little bit of shuffle with the social media, but I also have some alternate accounts, SG Mexcellence. It's SGMEXCELLENCE for my personal stuff eventually once we get it all hashed out. Instagram's terrible, so it might take a minute, but we'll get it situated. And in the meantime, next episode, our next thing, what is that, Marcos? Do you have that available, or do we have that available?
Let me pull up the calendar real quick.
I'm pulling up the calendar, and we are Untitled Current Events Podcast on Monday. I don't know what it is, but we're just going to recap all sorts of
Didn't you
online
say you
news.
were gonna call it Kicking with the Compas?
I think we might commit it to that because it's just freeform and nonsensical. But yes, to be determined. That's going to be around 9 o'clock this time around. But once again, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Support us at mexmerch.com. Follow us at the Mexcellence Podcast on all audio places. Twitch, search the _Mexcellence. YouTube, the Mexcellence. And then also, if you want to get really into it, the Mexcellence Archive. If you look us up on YouTube, that has its first video up. The first episode of this show is up there in its entirety. So thank you, everybody, for listening, watching, and we are out of here. Everybody say goodbye to the people out there. Everybody say goodbye to the people out there.
Ciao.
All right. Bye, people. Where's the intro? There it is.